Greetings and welcome to another episode of Sonic Odyssey, the music video channel dedicated to bringing you the last 5 decades or so of music in review and discussion format. Before we go any further, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Please be sure to like the video by clicking that thumbs up button. It really helps the channel a lot. It makes the video, put it out to different viewers. And also please consider clicking the share button and sharing the video through Facebook, Twitter, or other social media networks that are available. There's a slew of them there if you just click the share button. And also, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date, and click the little bell icon, and each time I post a new video you'll get a little notification that I have done so. The last thing I would ask you to do, most humbly, is to consider visiting my Patreon page, the link for which is in the show description right below the video, and there you can see the different tiers that are available. You can have your name listed in the end credits of each video I produce, and you can even go so far as to select an album for me to review. So that's the housekeeping out of the way. Let's get to today's topic. Today we're going to be looking at a band that is a not heavy metal band according to the band themselves, but is often categorized as a heavy metal band, and that would be Mastodon from the south of the United States in the area of Georgia. They formed initially in around 2000, and they released their first album in 2002. But a little bit more history. Basically, the band has been a quartet since its inception, and how that came about is kind of interesting. In 2000, drummer Bran Daler and rhythm guitarist Bill Kelleher moved from New York down south, and there they met bassist singer Troy Sanders and guitarist singer Brent Hines at a High on Fire concert, and found that they shared similar interests in sludge rock and also hard rock, Thin Lizzy being one of their shared interests, as well as the band Neurosis, and a few others, and a shared interest in progressive rock and progressive music as a whole. So that's how the band formed. And they released their first album in 2002, and that was Remission, which was pretty well received for its unique style of music. And they followed that up with what many people consider to be probably their best album prior to the one I'm going to be talking about today, Leviathan, and that was released in 2004. They would then release Blood Mountain in 2006, and then we get to the album we'll be looking at today, which is their fourth release, Crack the Skye. About their musical style, again, many people have categorized the band as heavy metal, but I will give a quote from Troy Sanders himself, where he says, and I quote, "We don't consider ourselves a metal band. We recognize there is a lot of metal in us, but we also want to believe we have a lot of rock and roll in us. And we have a lot of progressive rock in us. We have bits and pieces of thrash and punk and psychedelicness sprinkled throughout. A lot of times for me personally, just having the metal tag itself seems kind of limiting on us because we have such an appreciation for all styles of music, and we like to incorporate bits and pieces of those into our songs. But we also recognize all different subgenres, and a million times people say, oh, what do they sound like? And you say something. I understand that, but it doesn't affect how we create anything at all." End quote. I realize that's a bit of a mouthful and a long quote, but it is an important fact that the band themselves don't really consider themselves or like being categorized as a heavy metal band. And they have kind of really grown and matured over the course of the 8 albums that they have released thus far. The lyrical style of the band has a distinct element to it. As I mentioned earlier, their second album, Leviathan, was a concept album basically about or based upon Herman Melville's classic Moby Dick. And on their first 3 albums, as well as their 7th album, Emperor of Sand, they've discussed the elements of fire, water, and earth, leaving only air, the only element they have yet to craft an album around. But Crack the Skye is about the ether, as it were, and deals more with spiritual elements. Crack the Skye really takes a very deep and out of this world sort of approach lyrically in terms of creating a concept album. And to quote Bran Daler, "There's a paraplegic and the only way that he can go anywhere is if he astral travels. He goes out of his body into outer space, and a bit like Icarus, he comes too close to the sun, burning off the golden umbilical cord that is attached to his solar plexus. So he is in outer space and he is lost. He gets sucked into a wormhole. He ends up in the spirit realm and he talks to spirits, telling them he is not really dead. So they send him to the Russian cult. They use him in a divination, and they find out his problem. They decide they're going to help him. They put his soul inside Rasputin's body. Rasputin goes to usurp the Tsar, and he is murdered. The 2 souls fly out of Rasputin's body through the crack in the sky, and Rasputin is the wise man that is trying to lead the child home to his body because his parents have discovered him by now and think that he's dead. Rasputin needs to get him back into his body before it's too late, but they end up running into the devil along the way, and the devil tries to steal their souls and bring them down. There are some obstacles along the way." End quote. So again, it really is a very heady and very out of the norm sort of concept album, and it's a really brilliant story that is told over 7 songs in a 50-minute time frame. And that's kind of interesting because, 50 minutes is not a short time, and yet only 7 songs. So there are a couple of the songs that are kind of long. One of them is over 11 minutes, and the closing track is over 13. And these are never out of place. I don't want to overuse that phrase, but they have such great energy and shifts in time signatures and tempos and rhythms that they bring the listener along, and you never really notice it. It's just wonderfully put together. So Crack the Skye as an album sonically is really a brilliant mesh of all of what they have done prior on their earlier LPs, and a clear signpost of the direction that they would be going in albums to come, which is why I feel it makes it such an important album in their catalog, and hence this video. So let's get a taste for the album itself and give a little bit of a listen to the opening, a bit from the opening track entitled Oblivion.
I tried to fall into the ground, breaking all the fingers and the nails from my hand. The eyes of the child see no wrong, ignorant bliss and bending close. Bright eyes fading faster, then starts falling out.
I chose this particular snippet because I like the fact that it has Brann Dailor on lead vocals. This is in fact the first album from Mastodon to feature Brann Dailor on lead vocals on a number of tracks. And he also shares the vocal chores with Brent Hinds and Troy Sanders. Brian Kelleher is the only one in the band who never sings. He just plays really awesome rhythm guitar. Also in this snippet that I chose from Oblivion, you can hear not only Brent Hinds and Troy Sanders' vocals in the mix, but also the frenetic style sound of Brann Dailor's drumming. One of the things that makes his drumming style unique, perhaps, is that, as he has stated in interviews, he never really learned to play the drums by the typical route or the normal route, which is usually by going and following the bass, which is the typical rhythm section of the band, but he actually focused more on guitars and used them as the sounding board for his drumming practice and creation. And so he really does have a style of drumming and a way of bringing in fills and stops and just doing amazing things on the drum kit that put him, in my personal opinion, in the same class as, say, Keith Moon of The Who remains near untouchable in rock and roll when it comes to drumming. Brann Dailor is just astonishing, and this is some incredible drumming that he does in Mastodon throughout their entire discography, but certainly Crack the Skye is no exception to that. So I've mentioned the band themselves, and I will clarify just a little bit here so there's no confusion. Brann Dailor is the drummer, and he also does percussion, and he has the lead vocal chores on a few tracks on Crack the Skye and every album since then. Brent Hinds is the lead guitarist as well as the lead vocalist of the band, and he also does play banjo. Banjo opens the second track of the album entitled Divinations, and it's a nice little ditty that he starts before the heavier rock sound comes in. Brian Kelleher, as I said before, simply rhythm guitar work, and Troy Sanders is the bassist and sometimes keyboardist, synthesist, as well as performing lead vocals. The band is a very progressive band. They really explore sonic landscapes and soundscapes that touch different elements, not only in the earth, water, fire area, but they touch different elements of sonic structures, and the switch-ups of time signatures and tempos really make their music stand out and never feel boring or predictable. You'd be hard-pressed to find their music predictable. The album closer, The Last Baron, is, as I said before, a 13-minute song, and we're going to take a little bit of a listen to some of that. And I think there's a nice snippet that I've chosen which does a good job of showing the progressive elements of the music. And it does have both Brent Hinds and Troy Sanders on vocals in this particular snippet, and here's some, ethereal elements in the background. You'll notice them in the background of the sound. So let's listen to that now. Crack the Skye as a whole, as the album itself, is widely regarded in the critical community and the music community of fans as a masterpiece. It won the Album of the Year from Metal Hammer. It got rave reviews from AllMusic, from Rolling Stone, Playboy magazine, the New York Times, the New Yorker, both did reviews of Crack the Skye and praised the album for its artistic endeavor. It is a brilliant piece of music to listen to, and the wonderful thing about it is if you get the deluxe edition of the album, you also get, as a bonus disc, or if you download it from iTunes, you'll get 7 extra tracks that are just instrumental. Having the instrumental tracks is really nice because it allows you to just focus on the extraordinary musicianship and the wonderful talents of these 4 men together. Their latest album has come out in 2021. It was entitled Hushed and Grim, and it is another wonderful piece. Their development and growth and maturity has, in some ways, seen them step away from what their early Remission and Leviathan really heavy sounding music brought to the table, and now it's a little bit more, I don't want to say restrained, but it is a step away from that, a slight direction change, but without losing any of their fantastic progressive music stylings and all of those influences that Troy Sanders referred to in the quote earlier in the video. They're present in the music to this day, and it's highly recommended that you check it out. I give Crack the Skye easily 5 out of 5 stars. This is a brilliant piece of art. It is beautifully put together. It is a fantastic album. I highly recommend that you consider giving it a listen, checking it out on Spotify or iTunes or wherever you get your digital music from. And I thank you very much for your time and attention. Again, that is Crack the Skye by Mastodon from 2009. And thank you for giving me your time and attention. Until next time, peace, be well, bye-bye.